And okay, so welcome and welcome back everyone to the Dream Come True podcast. This is the podcast with a mission to help whoever related to autism to reach their dreams in life. And so today podcast, we are lucky to have my beautiful friend Rita Gendelment. She's had more than 20 years working with children on spectrums and help more than 1,000 of children and their families, their relatives. And yeah, today we're gonna discuss about a very interesting topic, which is called neuro-emotional balance. This is very new. I would like to have Rita on the show and to share with us about this. Thank you, Rita, for coming in.
Oh, sure, Dad. It's my total honor and pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, so can you help us to introduce a little bit about yourself before we start?
Oh, absolutely. I would love that. Yes. So, like you said, I've had a lot of experience in the field, working with special needs children, specifically on the autism spectrum and their families. And my experience is pretty vast. I started as an occupational therapist, but then I've learned many other wonderful techniques. I worked with chiropractors. I worked with reflex integration masters. I worked with craniosacral practitioners. I've done a lot of learning about the body and brain connection. And I also did a year and a half in the Sunrise program as well. This was about 12 years ago, where I did become a child facilitator. And all of my experience around the body, working with families about that calming the brain, calming the central nervous system, that's really where my expertise lies. And that's where I put all my focus and attention, with all the different modalities that I weave together.
Awesome. So by the way, so this is gonna be like our signature questions, okay?
Okay.
So like if a people, so like a parents want to reach their dreams, one step closer to their dreams. So what is one of your advice for them to be start looking right now, or be start doing right now?
Okay, Dot, phenomenal question. What I'm going to say is, this is going to sound really funny and very different. I'm going to say the first step is identifying your own rhythm, the rhythm with which you live your life, the rhythm with which you move through life. And is that rhythm a match with your child? Because here's what happens. When you're out of sync, when you're out of rhythm, let's, for example, say if I was just right now talking really fast,
Yeah.
and that would be speaking really slowly, we would be a mismatch. We would be out of rhythm.
Right.
When we are out of rhythm, when parents are out of rhythm with their child and they are not aware that they're moving too fast or they're not moving fast enough, it creates stress in the relationship, in that relational space. And somebody is constantly playing catch up. And it is very, very stressful. So just to give you another example, and I observed parents walking on the street with their children, and I observed all type of families, families that are have children who are neurotypical, children with special needs. And what I notice very often is a child is either running ahead of the parent or they are lagging behind the parent. They're not walking in sync with one another. But if you want to step into this connection with your child's body and tune into their body, you need to become aware of your child's rhythm, because that's going to be the foundation when you start presenting information that is new for your child. And that is where I typically start.
Yeah, right. Well, to be really honest,
Tell me.
that is just the one thing I've just learned by myself like days ago.
Really? Tell
Yeah,
me.
because like after like I've been working with children on the spectrum, like this is my 10th years on this career right now. But just a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago, I ran into this definition of autism by an autistic person that giving out that definition. It's like autism is a disorder by with lacking of trust. They,
Mm.
they could not recognize pattern. And they could not like giving trust to the environment. They cannot give trust to their own parents. They cannot give trust to the person they're talking to. They cannot, recognize the pattern. They cannot understand, and they could not even trust their own body. You know, they have like mind and body gap that they could not trust into their own body. So it's they somehow what we are seeing, what the behaviors that is describing autism is just the result of their lacking trust in everything. So they have to creating their own world and trying to do their best to control that and to gain some trust from the reality. So that really powerful to me in the way that I have to, adjust myself. Sometimes I
Yes.
speak too fast. Sometimes I assumed that they already understand what I'm saying, or I assumed that I already did that before, so I don't have to ask for permission before I do something, and that gonna mess up sometimes, So
I
that is totally related with what I've just, recognized by myself. And is it that what you've been talking?
Dad, this is so cool. Thank you for sharing that, because I want to add to it how rhythm and trust, they go together completely. So I remember being in a playroom with a 6-year-old child. He didn't speak at all. He was nonverbal, and he made a lot of sound. And what was happening, and this was already, honestly, to be quite honest, I was already a trained facilitator and I had a lot of understanding about the body. But I'm in this playroom and this child is just constantly running away from me. He wants nothing to do with me. And what I realized when I was in that playroom, going back, because I know how to give myself feedback, I know how to be honest. I did not give this child any room to breathe. I was just constantly offering new ideas of what he can do. I was constantly chattering and constantly talking. There was no pausing anywhere. So I overwhelmed this child's nervous system because I was not tuned in into his rhythm. His rhythm and his response is so much slower than what I was offering. So when we offer things too quickly, too fast, it has a way to overstimulate the nervous system, and the child is going to shut down and want to avoid you.
All right.
And there is no trust.
But that's easier to say than to apply, right? Because
Agreed.
it is our nature to try to be helpful, It's our nature in the playroom to try to be help that cute little boy or girl right there, sitting right there, and try to bring him or her into the interaction, right? So
Yes.
it is way more difficult to like adjust ourselves sometime here and there, and to bring us back to synchronize the rhythm. So what is your
Agreed.
what is your mantra? What is your secret to okay, I have to stop a little bit. I have to say this to myself to be able to putting more trust into that children, right? Into that child. That so what was your mantra?
Okay.
Realizing that and convincing your own, your own mind to be slowed down. What is?
Okay, wonderful.
That?
So there's two things that I want to say.
Yeah.
The number one is a very practical, simple, scientific measure of the heartbeat. So what I invite parents to do is to take their finger and just put it on their pulse and put a 15-second timer and measure how many beats are you measuring. your heartbeat, and then multiply that by 4. And their typical range is somewhere between 60 and 100. What we want is, we want to lower our heart rate so we are slower and calmer and more organized and balanced. So if your heart rate is above 90 or even above 85, this is right away a measurement that you're overly excited, overly hyper, and most likely you're going to be moving too fast.
Okay.
So before someone approaches a child, whether it's a caregiver or therapist, I just tell them simply, measure your heartbeat. What is it? Now, you can also, if you want, depending on your relationship with the child, it's also easy to measure the heartbeat of your child.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just as hyper as yours, and it could be in the 80s or 90s, which you're like, we're both very hyper, but which one of us is going to be the leader in slowing us down? So, you're going to have to be the caregiver, the therapist is going to have to say, we're both really buzzing. I need to slow this down. So first is awareness. But sometimes what happens, neurologically, our children hang out on extremes. So the child could also have a heartbeat of 65, 70, which is pretty low. So that means that you as a parent or as a caregiver, if you are like in the 80s or 90s, you gotta go way slow down. You gotta really slow down. So if you already know that about yourself, I always talk to the parents. What helps you, calm down, kind of feel the earth under your feet? Do you have a stretch? Do you have a breath? Do you have a phrase you could say? Awareness is always the key. That's the first thing. But, Doc, let's be real. We're in the environment already. And if we walked into the environment where whoa, I am really spinning and I'm really not syncing with my child's rhythm, the first thing is just relax and sit and do nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Just relax and sit and do nothing. Because the more you do, the further away you get from yourself. Do nothing. When you sit and do nothing, and it is the scariest thing for all of us to do nothing. There is nothing more scary in this world. I am still scared to do nothing. But as a parent who wants to have results and who wants to help their child grow and develop, to do nothing is the most scariest thing. But it is the first step to helping your child. Because if you keep going at the fast pace you go, you're pushing away your child and you're asking them to protect themselves and to shut their nervous system down. And they cannot absolutely receive you or connect with you or respond to you. There's nothing that you can do.
You know what is more scary than sitting down and doing nothing?
Tell me.
It is sitting down, doing nothing, but still knowing that is somebody still watching you on a camera and they are paying you by the hour.
God, you don't understand how many dialogues I've had about that issue. Oh my God, it's so true. It's so true.
Yes, they are judging you and they are paying you by the hour. So that is way more scary than that you have to act like so calm outside, but panicking and strategizing the way to respond on the feedback.
Oh, that's painful.
And you're exactly what you're saying. So like I have to convince myself. I really have to convince myself this, and I put this into my thought that autism is like a maze, and our mission is to walk together with this child out of this maze or closer to the gate.
Beautiful.
And if only us going out is a mission failed, so we have to walk with them. But the biggest problem is we don't have the map of the maze. Only the children have it. So I have to convince myself that my mission here is not to lead my child, not to be behind and push him, but be right by his or her side, taking the hand. They're gonna need to move fast sometimes. They're gonna need to move slow sometimes. even sometimes they have to sit down and take a rest. Even sometimes they have to go backward because they're in the wrong way. But my mission is not to push the way that I think, but to let him or her let me out of this maze. And the best thing I can do right now is follow her rhythm. So because only her know exactly the way out. So yeah, you know this term, right? Let the child show me the way in, and then I will show them the way out, right? We all familiar with that mantra. So I have to, okay, I'll put my trust in you, in your hand. And sometimes it's gonna look weird to me. Sometimes it's gonna look that we're going backward, but maybe it's a challenge of trust. So yeah.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Wow.
So can you tell me more about this new term of neuro emotional balance? It's definitely new to me. Can you help us to explain that?
Absolutely. So neuro means neurology. And when I'm talking about neurology, I'm talking about brain, central nervous system, and our ability to be in a state of calmness.
Okay.
So my job is to promote the most harmonious, comfortable place in ourselves, in the child, so they're comfortable in their own body. And that also means that there is neurology and emotions, and people very often disconnect those two dynamics, but they're actually very much one of the same. Where one begins, the other one kind of ends. So whenever we have we're processing information, let's say someone touches you, you always have an emotional response. So if someone touches me in a way that feels comfortable, it feels safe, feels enjoyable, most likely the feelings that follow are, this feels so good, I feel joyful, I feel relaxed, I am happy. However, if you are touched in a way that's uncomfortable, and everyone has their own comfort and discomfort, but for you somehow, someone touched you in a way that felt like, oh yuck, I'm disgusted, or this is not comfortable, or there is a feeling of unsafety that comes in through that touch. It's a communication. Feelings follow of fear, anxiety, maybe anger, maybe frustration. So emotions are really important to acknowledge, because actually one of the most uncomfortable feelings and overstimulating feelings in the body are emotions that we cannot, I want to use the word digest, because we need to digest everything. We are designed to digest. Our nervous system is designed to digest the sensation that comes in, the food that comes in, the emotions that are activated. So if the emotion is too big and the body cannot hold that emotion because it's just too tight, or it doesn't feel like it's safe to really fully feel the emotion, what happens is you start to become overwhelmed, and it shows in your behavior. And often a child would start screaming, yelling, moving away, throwing things. And a lot of times it starts with the sensory, but it also activates the emotional alarm system. I'm not okay. I don't feel safe, and I'm going to express it. It's not just physical expression. It is also an emotional expression. And it is something that is very important. They go hand in hand together.
Wow, that's really, really spot on. Because a lot of therapists, I've say, they try to create the sensory, feeling, but somehow I was there watching, and I found out that they emotionally, attack the child emotionally by giving orders and giving, pressure on him or her to doing that. And so also that really spot on, yeah, you learn something every day. So
of course.
you help the child to with the sensory toy, but feeling panic inside, so that's gonna help. Wow,
That's what you're saying is so important. So imagine And I just, I have a hard time talking about this because I see it quite often. I'm not blaming anyone, but it's interesting how we do this. We are offering something therapeutic and something powerful for a child. So let's say a sensory protocol. Let's say we're doing some, deep pressure squeezes, okay? And there's a way to do it that maybe could be beneficial. There's a certain sequence, there's certain pressure. All of that is wonderful. But if the child is not available for that, or if you are now saying, sit down, wait, you need this, and you're squeezing and the child is running away and you're now fighting the child, and now you're using a very stern tone of voice to kind of reprimand the child, you are doing something beneficial, but you're right away destroying everything you are doing because your emotional tone absolutely makes the child unsafe, feeling critical, feeling like there's something wrong with them, and they cannot receive anything therapeutic from you. Nothing. What they can do is go into a mode of protection to avoid you and to be aggressive towards you so that you can get away and never come back.
Yeah, just by the way you saying a scenario just popped up inside my head. So imagine that we're going to have a massage, and the therapist saying that, wow, your hair look real bad today. Well, how's that gonna relax, And I bet I'm not giving her any tips. That's for sure. Just by opening that, wow, your hair look real bad today.
My God, that is so funny because it has happened to me.
How does that happen to you?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's very funny.
I bet she didn't have good tips that day.
She did. Well, it was just overall, yeah, went down the drain after that. Yes.
That's hilarious.
But in some cultures, that's more acceptable than others, it's just interesting how our belief systems, how much that matters, how we relate to the world.
Yeah, and that's come back to the problem of trust. That right at that moment, the trust is gonna be destroyed.
100%.
Okay, so what is your advice that people can get to that neural and emotional balance, and how to make what is the healthy way to maintain them, like day in and day out, if
Sure.
parent?
Yes, I totally hear you. So of course we have to start somewhere. And this rhythm is kind of like, it's in everything that we do. So I invite parents, when I work with them, I do a little interview. I ask them, what is the rhythm of your child's sleep? What is the rhythm with how they eat? What is the rhythm when they walk? I look for those rhythmical patterns. And I invite the parent to, let's say, for example, there's a lot of fear around a child not chewing and not eating food, that there's a lot of fear around that. So I invite the parents to sit with their child, watch how they eat, and I invite them to mimic their chewing pattern.
Wow. That's specific.
So that very specific, yeah. But here's the thing, the most important, what I am really enjoy is I create as much as I can a physiological experience for the parent to experience in their own body what it's like to walk in their child's shoes or in their child's rhythm. So for example, the chewing, you sit next to your child and you chew with them. If they pause, you pause. If they chew a little bit, you chew a little bit. If they chew really fast, you chew really fast. You follow their rhythm and you observe, how do you feel inside as you follow their rhythm? Some parents can't handle it. They freak out. They get really frustrated and they cannot do it because judgments show up about the child, about their parenting, about the future of their child. And but this is what is wonderful is those parents who are willing to explore this way, they learn a lot about themselves and their child. And they develop much more compassion, and they're actually now able to attune and kind of play with this rhythm where they can be more in sync with their child, and it becomes much easier. because now they're observing it. Now they understand that there is a difference, and they're learning to, with the help of kind of breathing techniques, with the help of just some shifting some belief systems, they are learning to slow down and connect.
All right. But are we doing that with the child knowing we are doing that, or just, from far away?
Oh, so the truth is, it really depends on the child. Some children, they need to be told. And I am on this kind of, I hang out on the side of how can we make the environment the most predictable. I prefer to share what my intentions are, and I prefer to share with the child, sweets, here's what I'm going to do. I really want to feel, how does it feel to chew the food with the pace that you chew your food? I want to understand. So I'm going to sit next to you and I'm going to experience it so that I can understand you better and support you better. Sometimes there are some children that cannot handle so much talking. So maybe you need to say less. Or maybe you need to not say anything and sit a little further away at a distance and just kind of from the corner of your eye, look a little bit at the child and just do your best to go in sync, go in rhythm, and just observe the child's behavior. Are they paying attention to you? Are they turning away from you? Are they trying to move away? Because their response will let you know, do they feel comfortable in your presence with what you're doing, or are they feeling uncomfortable? So my answer is there's no one cookie cutter approach. We experiment with the child that we have.
All right. That's gonna be powerful, the explaining. So in your own experience, what or what are some of the dreams that has come true by parents slow down and synchronize with the children's rhythms? Can you share a little bit about that?
The first thing that I almost consistently see is eye contact and wanting to be in a parent's lap. Those are the two things that I observe almost immediately. And it happens fairly quickly. So when you have a chance to slow down and pause, there's this feeling of invitation where the child is like now has the space to exist. And now they're actually, wait, mom is not talking, dad is not talking, they're not asking me to do anything, they're not moving towards me, they're just standing, they're sitting there, and they're really pretty calm. And now the child is like, wait, they are wanting to go towards the parent because now the parent is not interrupting their rhythm. So it feels comfortable and it feels good to want to go to the parent and connect with them and get to know the parent. Because I have a belief, every single child desires deeply to be close to their parents, but we need to give them a pathway to step in on their terms. Because we are too cluttered up inside of our minds, in our expectations, in our agendas, where there is no space for the child to say, Mom, I love you, I see you, I could show you with my eyes, I could sit close next to you, and I show you that I enjoy being in your rhythm because it feels comforting to me.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So those are very often. I see this extremely often. And this expands. It depends how committed the parents are and how much they want to go on. Often I also see language come in because language is very rhythmical. When you give a child the space to step in and connect with the parent and they feel safe, they're now wanting to go further. They want something from their parent. They're going to want to ask for things. They're going to want to try to talk in their own way, even if it's not clear what they're saying. They're going to want to do that. And I'm not saying that every single special needs child is going to respond this way, but this is something that I observe very often, more often than not. They step in and they want to talk.
Yeah, because I really agree with you on this. I once have a parent, a mom. She came to me and she's saying that this lady, she has 3 children, and the autistic one is the youngest. So she, that boy have two elder sister, and after like recording her, so she was never like putting camera when she's with the boy, but after watching her video, she's come to me and she said, "Hey, maybe I'm a different person when I'm with my two daughters than when I'm with this boy, because the other like neurotypical child, I'm more relaxed with them. I don't have to say much, and I guarantee that I don't have any worries, and talking or teaching them to doing their homework. They're doing well, but at the moment when I step into the playroom with my boy, a lot of pressure, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety immediately raised into my brain, and I act totally different. She's more impatient, she's more demanding, and that she's like, "What? This is still my child, and why cannot I, act the way I'm more, loving and caring and giving more trust to this boy than my two daughters." So yeah, so maybe that's somehow parents need to adjust themselves first before they start synchronize, so that they'll be able to synchronize with the child.
100%. 100%. It starts with the parent synchronizing their rhythm with themselves and then with their child.
Yeah,
it's so foundational, really, truly.
So with a person that has so many backgrounds, so many way of approaching autism, so could you draw us the whole picture of what are you doing and what is your text of, if you are working with a parent, how could you help them and their child with autism?
Sure, absolutely. So we always start with, what does the parents really want? What is their dream for their child? And I always write that down. And then I tell them that it's a beautiful idea, that the dream is here, and it's important to have awareness of the dream, but we are going to take baby steps towards that dream. And the most foundational piece is the safety, the security, the trust, and the connection with the child. So I always ask the parent, how do you feel when you're with your child? How does it feel to you? And when they tell me that they're feeling stressed, they're uncomfortable, we're just kind of, I do a lot of simple ways of reflecting back to them how they can be more confident, empowered parent, and really look at their emotional well-being. Really, that's the truth of it. That's what I help them do. And there are specific techniques for that. When I help them to emotionally regulate themselves, I also let them know that I can help you create a specific program for your child to help them feel safe in their own body, so they can become calm and they can become receptive to their environment, and they can learn something brand new in a way that feels good to them. So I design a program with very gentle way to wake up the nervous system so that that child feels safe, which involves rhythmical movement, tapping, stretches, different reflex integration patterns, and all of that depends on the child, because I need to see where the child is at, where is the foundation, and how do we build him or her up very, very gently. And there's different routines, and it depends on how much time the parent has, or how much support and resource the parent has in terms of the caregivers, and how often that's implemented throughout the day. And I typically shift, and we do feedback, and we talk, well, how is the program working? Is the child able to receive this body program? Is there anything that needs to be tweaked? Are we going too fast? Are we going too slow? Is there not enough novelty? And as we do that, I keep working with the parent emotionally to support them to feel that they are doing well with their child. Keep singing it to a rhythm, keep making sure that they are not trying to have the dream be available right now. The dream is always there. It's our inspiration, but it's like I call it eating the elephant one little piece at a time. Forgive me, maybe it's a little, but that's a book that I read recently.
Eating a vegan elephant.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Vegan
Oh my gosh.
elephant. Okay.
Yes. Or eating a carrot, one little slice at a time. I don't know.
Eating a
Something like that.
giant carrot. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
That's okay.
And Dad, what's important is every time I speak to a parent, I always want them to tell me, what did you do well? What worked? And what are you seeing with your child? So even though the meeting is every 2 or 3 weeks, most of the time, I need to help parents become aware there is progress happening every time. Even though the dream is here, but there is progress here already. That we're not waiting for 20 years down the line. Progress is happening right now, immediately. And if your child is able to tolerate the activity 30 minutes, seconds longer than the day before, this is a huge progress.
Yes, just totally agree. Because I totally agree with that. A lot of my friends, a lot of my parents, so sometimes one or 2 months later, I come and ask them, oh, anything new with the child? They say, yeah, nothing much. It's just be able to read. What? What's that? What was that you talking? So like that's one mom said. I asked her like, oh, anything new with her son? She said, yeah, nothing much. Hey, by the way, yesterday he come back home and be able to tell what happened at school. I said, that nothing much to you? Is that nothing much? It was yeah. She was like, yeah, he did it, but it was not completed. But it's like, but girl, it's everything, it's all you
Yeah.
wished for. He come from non-verbal to this point. He was not able to read, and now he's able to sing karaoke.
Wow.
She's like, yeah, nothing much. So being able to recognize even the smallest step, the smallest improvement of your child is really, really underrated right now. I have to say.
Completely underrated. And I have to tell you, without that, why would you want to be on the journey? I would go nuts. It would be driving me crazy because it would be very miserable to walk the journey. So that's why for me, I always bring it back home. What is where, even so, I want to really tell you something important about this celebration. A parent celebrating when they decided that the child was not available and they did not force the exercises.
Oh, okay.
Do you know how huge that is? I cannot tell you how huge it is to teach a parent not to force. I know I'm just kind of like, because I deal with it a lot. I find very creative ways to celebrate. I celebrate everything, every little bit. And I really mean it, to learn to step back and not to force, because sometimes the child is just not available, not feeling well, something is out of routine, daddy's traveling and he shouldn't be, and now his mom is home with the child alone, and it doesn't matter. A stomach ache, he wasn't able to be receptive, you let it go and you trust that is exactly the way it's supposed to be, and you celebrate that you know how to step back.
Oh, that's gonna change everything,
It does.
That's huge.
It does. That's the best way to build trust. That's how you build rhythm.
That's what I'm about to say. That's the best way.
Yes, that's right.
Give them trust into themselves.
Yes.
They can have trust into themselves. There's not blaming them,
Correct.
Why you're doing great. You are good just as who you are.
Yes.
And that confidence, we cannot lift the weight for them. If is that easy? I don't know, maybe somehow we can put in a shot and cure autism, but it's not the case right now,
I do. There's no magic pill, you're saying.
We have to be the cheerleader, and they are the athlete. They have to lift the weight themselves, but we are not like judging cheerleader. We have to be like truly top-notch A+ cheerleader for them. We have to cheer every single bit, even that failure. We have the term of train to failure. In workout. Failure, you're doing reps until you fail, and even that failure could be cheered on. So why don't we cheer with our children? They can be fail, saying what we want them to say, but they're making effort. So
all the time.
they're still trying to make efforts.
Of course,
That's
absolutely. And what is wonderful to know, it's another belief that every child wants to please their parents. They want to make their parent proud. Every child, really, truly.
every child.
Every child. And if parents understand that, give them a chance. They want to do what you're asking them to do. Give them a way to do it that they can step into it. So ask, but always provide the proper support. But if you're asking without support, nothing is ever going to work, ever. So you gotta provide the resource. You gotta really make sure you slow it down and you ask a little bit.
It is
and you
gonna
celebrate.
be. It's gonna be a difficult dance to balance between, asking, because to and over supporting. You have to ask, to have to slow you down, but you don't have to
Yes.
over support it. You don't have to make them feel like, no, like what there was once I was in, like, this is not autistic case, but once I was in I don't know, this where the place to support elder people. So
Oh, yeah. Nursing home?
nursing home, yeah.
Yes.
That man say to the nurse that I want to be able to stand up by myself. You don't need to help, because that's gonna make him feel like he's useless. So
Oh, yeah.
so it's gonna be, take us some time to realize that between challenging and slowing us down to the rhythm. So I think you giving out a really good solution. Challenging, but doing like a small piece at a time. So
Correct.
they can get like, they can be, oh, I'm my own hero. I can do this. I can do that. And
Exactly.
you don't ask it a big challenge for like a neurotypical person. You ask them as an autistic one, a neurodifficult one.
Yes.
Challenging, but within their possibility now, or
Within their possibility, correct.
a little bit over, so they can move on, but not too much, so that they have
Yes.
to adjust and doing this dance, like
It's always a dance. I love that because I'm also a dancer. So the dance, it's always the dance. It's so important, Oh, beautiful analogy.
yeah. So last, what is your one dream that you wish coming true for you or your families or everyone who is listening on the podcast right now?
Oh my gosh. Wow, what a beautiful question. Well, I think for me, first and foremost, my dream is for parents to relax and trust that the child they have is the perfect child for them.
Yeah, that's powerful.
There's no denying any of it. It is the perfect child. And enjoy and love it and enjoy the journey and keep learning as a human, keep growing, keep accepting yourself as a human being. And it's okay to fall and you come back up. And it's okay to fall and it's come back up. And it's okay. It's all okay. Everything has a meaning. Everything has a purpose. And your journey is your journey and it's unique to you. And just honor the journey. Really, truly honor it. Cherish it. Cherish it with all its challenges, because the truth is we're all challenged. We're all challenged in our own unique ways. So just embrace your fate, your life, and the gift of this child.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful what you're saying. And I also definitely thinking that the best wishes for everyone who is listening to this podcast, start with you loving what you have. And things gonna be only get better,
Yes.
Things only get better.
They do.
Right there. So
Correct.
thank you so much, Rita, to spending time with us. I know we have to stop ourselves from talking because
Yes.
we could have days. But no worries, guys. We're gonna have Rita coming back for many more episodes. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for what you have done to all the families and to spending time here sharing so much precious, advices. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dad. It's an honor. Thank you so much.